Okay, so today we're going to be learning how to add and subtract matrices. Before we can actually begin adding, we need to first learn a little bit more about matrices. So the first thing we need to know is what a matrix is. A matrix is an array of numbers. So if I have something like 2, -1, and 0, say 3, 4, and 7, notice that I have rows, I have columns of numbers, and these form a rectangular array, and that is what a matrix is, a rectangular array of numbers. Now I add these brackets on the ends because we use those to denote a matrix. We also use capital letters to denote matrices, so I'm going to call this matrix capital A. Now each of these numbers in the matrix is called an entry, and you'll notice that this particular matrix has 2 rows and it has 3 columns. So the size of this matrix is called a 2 by 3 matrix. The 2 meaning it has 2 rows, the 3 meaning it has 3 columns. It's very important that you always write the number of rows and then the number of columns, as that's how it's defined. Now if I have a matrix B, we'll let this matrix be, say, -1, 0, and 2, 7. So this matrix, notice, is a 2-row by 2-column matrix. The rows and columns, number of rows and columns are the same. This has a special name called a square matrix. So anytime you have the same number of rows and columns, you will have this square matrix. Now that we know a little more about matrices, we're ready to learn how to add them. Let's begin with the matrix A. We'll let this matrix be 1, 3, 0, -2, 5, and 4. So this will be our matrix A. We're going to let matrix B be -1, 2, 7, 0, 4, and 3. Now you'll notice that both of these matrices are 3 by 2 in size, meaning we have 3 rows and 2 columns. Now that's very important because in order to add matrices, they must be the same size. So now that we have 2 the same size, we can add them. The way that we add them is we add their corresponding entries. So here in the A matrix, in row 1, column 1, we have a 1, and in row 1, column 1 for B, we have a -1. When we add 1 and -1, we get 0. We're going to repeat this process for our next corresponding entry. We have a 3 and we have a 2. When we add those, we get a 5. Here in row 2, column 1, we have a 0 in the A matrix and a 7 in the B matrix. That will give us a 7 when we add. And here we have a -2 in our second column, row 2, and a 0. That will give us a -2. Now in our first column, third row, we have a 5 in the A matrix and a 4 in the B matrix. 5 and 4 is 9. And lastly, last entry, we have a 4 and we have a 3. When we add those together, we get a 7. So this matrix we end up with, notice it is a 3 by 2 matrix, which is exactly what we started with. So we should expect that each time. Now that we know how to add matrices, let's move on to learning how to multiply a matrix by a numerical quantity called a scalar. So our scalars, we're going to use lowercase letters to denote those. We're going to let our C be 2. And we're going to let A be 1, 0, -2, 3, 7, and 4. Okay, so notice that this matrix is a 2 by 3 matrix, meaning it has 2 rows and 3 columns. Now, if I want to find the product of C and the matrix A, the way I do this is I want to multiply each of the entries in the matrix A by that scalar 2. So I'm going to say 2 times 1, the first entry. That will give me a 2. 2 times the 0 will now give me 0. 2 times negative 2 is a negative 4. 2 times 3 will give me 6. 2 times 7 will give me 14. And the 2 times the 4 will give me 8. This is my resulting matrix. Notice that it's still a 2 by 3 matrix. So that's scalar times a matrix. All right, now once we have this knowledge, we're ready to subtract. So we're going to begin with the matrix A. We're going to let it be 1, 0, 2, and 4. And we're going to also let matrix B be negative 2, 3, 0, and 1. Now, if I want to perform subtraction, A minus B, remember that we know this is the same as A plus a negative 1 times B. And this negative 1 times B, that's scalar multiplication. We just did that. Now, that means that we need to find the matrix negative 1 times B. So we're going to take that negative 1, multiply it again by each entry in B here. So negative 1 times negative 2 will give us a 2. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. And negative 1 times 1 will be negative 1. So we have our resulting matrix, negative B. Notice, again, these are all the same size. We have 2 by 2 matrices. So we definitely can actually do these operations. Okay, now we're ready to add the A and the negative B matrix. So we'll add those corresponding entries. We have a 1 and we have a 2, and that gives us 3. We have 0 and we have negative 3. That result is negative 3. We have a 2 and we have a 0, resulting in just 2. And lastly, we have a 4 and a negative 1, and that result will give us positive 3. So here's our resulting matrix. Again, notice it's still a 2 by 2 matrix. So that's adding and subtracting matrices. Thank you so much for watching.